You have become financially independent and you have retired early. Now, what are you going to be doing with that time? That is the question. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today in this video. I'm going to give you a guide on what to do once you become financially independent. And even if you're not at that stage yet, even if you're not already financially independent, this is still very important. It's very important what you need to know for when that time does come. And first, what I want to start with today is 5 things that you need to do if you think that you are now considered financially independent and maybe now you're going to, retire early. So here's the first thing that you need to do. The first thing that you definitely need to do is you need to run the numbers again. Okay, you can never run the numbers too many times. You want to utilize a bunch of different kinds of retirement calculators, financial independence calculators more specifically, just to make sure that your plan is all good to go. So here are a few of them that I like to use. F.I.R.E Calc is one that I like to use. F.I.R.E Sim is another great calculator. And then another one that I've kind of more recently discovered is called Engaging Data. So they actually have a really great financial independence calculator as well. So just you want to use a variety of different sources, different calculators, different places to kind of just run the numbers on your plan and make sure that everything is good. And when you're running those numbers, make sure that you just kind of use conservative estimates. Maybe actually a little bit more conservative of an estimate than what you realistically will be using. From there, you can see maybe you do need to make some adjustments. Maybe things have changed since you originally made your plan, or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's even better now. I don't know. So that's why you need to first thing you need to do is run the numbers one more time. The next thing that you probably want to do is you want to take a look and manage your sequence of return risk. Sequence of return risk is basically the risk that you're going to face for your investments are going to face once you become retired, once you become financially independent and you actually start withdrawing from those investments. Now, it's especially crucial to manage your sequence of return risk in the first 5 to 10 years. That's probably the most important time, but technically there's always that sequence of return risk throughout your entire life when you are withdrawing from those investments. So here are some ways that you can get started with kind of managing your sequence of return risk and making sure that you don't run out of money too early if we have market downturns and things like that. So the first one that you can do is lower your initial withdrawal rate and keep that in the lower initial withdrawal rate. Say for example, if you utilize the 4% safe withdrawal rule and you plan on retiring with a 4% withdrawal rule, just by lowering that initially to, let's say, 3.8%, that could possibly have a pretty dramatic effect on the likelihood of you never running out of money. I think I've run the numbers before and I'll put them up on the screen for you on how drastic of a change 0.2% of a withdrawal rate, an initial withdrawal rate can make in a long period of time. Another way that you can manage your sequence of return risk is to lower your equity allocation. So the more money that you actually have involved, invested in equities, i.e. invested in stocks, the more that you're going to have invested in that, maybe the more risky, the more fluctuations, the more volatility there's going to be in your investments. So in order to manage your sequence of return risk, you might want to start out with a lower amount of equities and maybe have a little bit more fixed income or something similar to kind of smooth your ride, especially because in the first 5 to 10 years, because you don't want that much volatility in those critical 5 to 10 years of the sequence of return risk. And thirdly, another really great one that you can do is just to practice flexible spending. Be flexible with your budget. So when you build your financial independence, just make sure that your budget, your spending has some flexibility in it. I've done this myself. About 25% of my overall spending is considered discretionary, and so I could technically cut those out if there was a significant market downturn, and that's going to really help me manage my sequence of return risk right now as I'm living the retired life. The next thing that you're going to want to do once you become financially independent, number 3 on this list, is to reflect on your why, that you're retiring early for the right reasons. And is your why still good enough for you? Is it still something that you want to pursue in your life? Do you still want to even become financially independent? Do you still want to do your original plans? So you can have multiple reasons on why you want to become financially independent, why you want to retire early, whatever it may be, and that's perfectly fine. But you need to just take a look again at your goal and find out why did you do this in the first place, and is it still a good reason for you now today? Next up, we have number 4, and number 4 is to actually revisit your asset allocation. Now, I kind of already mentioned that in the sequence of return risk, but this is kind of more specifically looking at your asset allocation. What is your plan for the future? So you're saying, you know what, I'm going to remain 100% equities. That might be a little bit too volatile now that you are withdrawing from that portfolio. Back in the day when you were, contributing to your investments, maybe you were 100% stock market. Maybe you were 100% stocks, and you could afford to take that volatility. And every time the market market dropped 30%, you thought everything was on sale. But now that you are actually retired, maybe now that you are financially independent and you might be actually withdrawing from that portfolio, now when the market drops 30%, you're not going to want to withdraw from that because you don't want to sell off your assets 30% less than what they were worth, a few days ago. And so maybe you want to take a look at your asset allocation. Is your current asset allocation, or is your plan for that asset allocation, is it too volatile? Is there too much risk involved in it? Or maybe the opposite side of the spectrum. Maybe you have too much money in fixed income. Maybe you have too much money, in pure cash. Maybe you have too conservative of a portfolio and you don't really need to have that, and you still want to have a little bit more growth in your portfolio over the long run. So take a look at your asset allocation and determine if it is still good for you. Number 5 on this section of it is to detail your tax strategy. So now that you are financially independent, you're going to have a lot different way that you manage your taxes as you were when you were actually working and making a higher income. As before, when you were making the income, there are many different ways that you can utilize to reduce your taxable income, such as putting money into those retirement accounts. But now that you are financially independent, it's a little bit different. So you need to take a look at your current tax strategy and how you're going to handle that tax strategy now that you are financially independent, now that you may be living off of your investments, depending on how you are making your income. Are you selling off investments and realizing capital gains in order to create an income source for yourself? Are you living off of the rental income from rental properties or from real estate investment trusts? Are you relying on income from dividends? So there can be many different ways that you are making your income from your investments. And so that's why you need to take a look at your tax strategy and make sure that you are still making sure that you pay a low amount of taxes. And if you're liking this video so far, please make sure you like it and give it a thumbs up. It really does help me, and I really do appreciate that, because now we're going to move on to 9 options that you're going to have. So I put together for you. Of course, you have so many other options now that you theoretically become financially independent, but you have so many options. But I have 9 really good options for you on what you should be doing once you become financially independent. And the first really cool option I have for you today is to simply stick with your plan. So that might sound a little bit obvious, but I have to include that, and it's very important. Stick to the plan that you had originally, and especially if you took steps 1 through 5 in the previous section of this guide and you applied that to your financial independence plan. Now you can actually stick to that plan, because if that plan was solid, if you've already reviewed it and your plan is good for financial independence, then stick to that plan. Why not? Why change it if it is already a good plan? And so that is definitely one of the first options that you can do. Number 2 on this list, option number 2 for you is to make quality time with your friends and family. So this is a really important thing that you should be doing once you become financially independent, because now you have a lot more time to make it happen. We understand the excuse is when you're working, people have different work schedules and your times kind of come in conflict, and it's really hard to have that quality time with your friends, with your family. But now that you've become financially independent, there should be no excuse, because you are a lot more flexible in your time and how you spend it. And so try a challenge. If you are not used to spending so much quality time with friends and family, try making a challenge for yourself. Try saying, just off the top of my head, maybe like spend 1 hour per day of quality time with a friend or a family member or something like that. Try to make your own challenge, because this number 2 is one of the biggest challenges that I've had in my own life now that I've become financially independent and that I've retired early. It's really a big challenge for me, because in order to become financially independent, I actually took a pretty drastic move and utilized geographic arbitrage, where I moved across the entire country. And now I have to start all over with meeting new friends, and I don't have any family that live in this area. And so it's definitely been a struggle for me, and I want that to be less of a struggle for you if you are financially independent. Make family and friends a priority. Next up, we have option number 3, and number 3 is actually kind of different, because once you become financially independent, you can just keep working. All right, option number 3 is to just keep working, even though you are now considered financially independent. But it comes with something a little bit different here, because you can keep working, but try to work more on your terms. Now that you are financially independent, now that you are in a strong financial status, strong financial security, you can kind of make more demands. Now, of course, those demands should be reasonable, but you can probably negotiate a lot better at your work, especially if you are a vital component of that workplace, especially if you are an asset to the company. You can have things like working remotely, you can work fewer hours, you could even move and try a different job within your employer where you're working at now. So you can actually negotiate a lot better on a lot of these things, because you are financially independent and you have more options. And so you can consider working, keep working if you like to work at your job, but you can make it a little bit more enjoyable for yourself. myself. This is kind of something that I have done, except for now I am considered self-employed, so I don't actually have an employer, and I've kind of built on cash flow. This is a way that I can still do some work while making a little bit of a difference in the world by educating others on financial independence and on personal finances. And it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I get to pretty much design the way I work and when I work. So it is pretty cool, and you can do the same thing once you become financially independent. Next up, number 4 on this list, we take a little bit of a twist and we have a little bit more fun with it. So option number 4 for you, once you become financially independent, is to travel a lot longer than you're used to traveling. So now that you have a lot more time and flexibility in your life, you can plan those long-term traveling trips. Okay, so typically, if you worked, in a regular corporate job in America, you might get 2 to 3 weeks off per year, depending on your status. So let's say you're getting 14 days off per year, and you take all of those 14 days off in one go. Even 14 days, it might sound like a lot of time, but 14 days traveling in an international country, you probably aren't going to see as much as you think you're going to see. You're not going to experience as much culture as you may want to experience, and you're definitely going to be rushed, and you might be very busy and exhausted at the end of that 14-day experience. And a lot of people take trips internationally that are even less. So you might go traveling for only 1 week or something like that, and you have to see so much within that week, and it's very exhausting. But now that you're financially independent, you can travel for longer and a much slower pace. And they call this slow travel, obviously, but slow travel is really awesome. I have actually tried doing a little bit of this myself. So recently in December of 2019, a very funny time to be traveling, but it was right before something else happened, as you might already know. But in December 2019, I actually took 1 entire month and I lived in the country of Spain, and I've traveled around very slowly in the country. I actually only stayed in one of the cities and took day trips out from there. So I got to live in an Airbnb, so it was like I was living in an apartment, living a lot more like a local than you would if you were just staying, a few nights in a hotel. And it was a really great experience for myself, and I hope to have one coming up again very, very soon. And I will let you guys know, of course, when I have my next slow travel trip. So that is a really great option for you once you become financially independent. Slow travel, travel longer, and travel to the places you want to do and experience a lot more. Next up, we have number 5 on this list, and number 5 is really fun because you can just take something that you enjoy doing. Option number 5 is to take something you like and actually monetize it. So this can come in many different forms, but I think this is one of the best ways that almost anyone can start their own business. Okay, so this is another way of saying start your own business, but when I'm specifically talking about this kind of business, I'm talking about monetizing something, creating a business out of something you actually enjoy doing and something that you are passionate about, something that you enjoy doing, something that you want to do. And this doesn't need to be something that is super formal. You can take a hobby that you have and kind of turn it into a business. If you love hiking and you know all the hiking trails in the area where you live, then you could actually start maybe a business on taking people out on these hiking trails or something like that. So there's many different options for what you can do. If you have a hobby or you have something that you're interested in, you can monetize that and make it a business. And this is something that I have done with financial independence. So I'm so passionate about personal finances and financial independence that I tried taking that passion. I tried taking all that knowledge and information that I have, and I've tried to help others on their journey to financial independence, and once they reach financial independence as well, just like how you are watching this complete guide. And so that is something I monetized, teaching financial independence, and it is something that I really enjoy doing, or else I wouldn't be doing it, because I'm financially independent. And that's something that you can consider doing in your life as well once you become financially independent. Next up at number 6, we're going to be talking again about hobbies, but we're going to be talking at it from a little bit different here. Okay, so you can take a hobby and try doing this really cool challenge called try the 10,000 hour rule when it comes to one of your hobbies. Or it doesn't even have to be a hobby, it can just be an interest. So try doing 10,000 hours of that. Now this is going to take you quite a while if you really want to do that. And the whole point of the 10,000 hours is to pick something, track the hours that you're doing, and actually become an expert at it. So there's this really cool rule of thumb that came from this book known as Outliers, and that is done by Malcolm Gladwell. I hope I pronounced his name right. But the Outliers book, I've actually read that a long time ago, and I think I'm going to start trying to reread it again. But it's really cool because it talks about the 10,000 hour rule. Basically, it takes 10,000 hours for you to become an expert in something that you are doing. So it's a really cool rule of thumb to follow. So if you can take that and you can calculate the math out, 10,000 hours divided by how many hours you're going to do it per day, how many days per week, and how many years is that going to take you. So you can try to take that. Now that you're financially independent, you have a lot more free time. If there's something that you're really interested in, something that you really want to get good at, you can try taking that 10,000 hour rule and trying to turn that into something. So make yourself an expert in something over the next couple of years. That could be something really cool for you to try once you become financially independent. And now that you have the free time, you can actually make it happen. Number 7 here is something that is very interesting to me personally, and probably a lot of you out there as well, and that is to achieve a big measurable fitness goal. Okay, so fitness goal, what I mean by that is it could be anything related to fitness. So more specifically, I like to do like calisthenics, lifting weights and things like that. So if you have a goal, you can take that. So if you like to do weightlifting, maybe you like to do deadlift. So make a really big goal for yourself. So maybe 500-pound deadlift is a really big goal for yourself. Now that's a measurable goal because there's an actual number attached to that goal, 500 pounds. Now maybe it's something that you've never done in your life and you want to do that. So make that one of your goals and achieve that fitness goal. Now that you can have, a lot more time to actually dedicate to that goal, you can optimize things. You can do it a lot easier than when you were so busy when you were working. Another one might be running a marathon. A marathon is measurable because it's like in 26 miles, right? Something like that. So it's 26 miles. You're certainly not going to see me running that many miles, but a marathon is something that a lot of people want to do. And now that you have so much more time and flexibility in your life, now that you're financially independent, you can actually make that happen and you can train for it. You can optimize for that much better. For example, one I've had before in the past that I have accomplished was to hike the tallest mountain in the lower 48. So that was actually Mount Whitney in California, and it's about 22 miles of a round trip day hike. And that was something that was measurable, a really big goal that I set for myself, and I actually did end up accomplishing that. 22 miles in one day over many different elevation gain. So it was really fun and a very big challenge for me physically to do that. And so that's something that you could also do and implement in your life once you become financially independent. Number 8 on this list, I think, is very essential that everyone should be doing. And maybe once you become financially independent, you'll want to do this as well. But you can also do this along the way, helping others reach financial independence. That is something that everyone in the financial independence community, someone on the track, someone that's already there, everyone should be helping others in some other way because it is something that is so amazing. You don't have to be like super pushy on the concepts of financial independence. You don't have to be, super pushy on increasing your income and decreasing your expenses and investing. But you can also improve other people's by sparking their intrigue, spreading the love, as they like to say, just helping others achieve financial independence, or just helping others become aware of its existence, that this is even possible, that you can actually design the life that you want to live, and you don't have to set society's predetermined path. You don't have to follow that path. There are other paths to follow. And so there are many different ways that you can help spread the idea of financial independence to others. There's of course YouTube, as I am doing right now. There's blogs. You can start a blog. There's blog comments that are on blogs, social media groups. There's all kinds of different things that you can do in order to help others achieve financial independence and just get involved. I think that YouTube really was right for me because it allowed me to start my own business while at the same time helping so many people and reaching so many people at once. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.